Welcome to State of the Biz by New York Festivals. I'm Paul Marobella. On this episode, I sit down with Andrea Diquez, one of the most fearless leaders in our industry right now. From growing up in Venezuela to running one of the most creative, fastest growing agencies in the world, Andrea breaks down what it really takes to lead at the highest level. We get into why grit and humor are her edge, why she hires people who make her laugh, and how Gut built a culture with a 90% retention in one of the toughest industries out there. She's also the executive jury president at the New York Festivals this upcoming spring. And we talk about, and she shares what actually wins, what gets ignored, and why great work still lives or dies on storytelling. We talk independence versus holding companies, her bold move to run Gut as their first ever global CEO, how they're scaling creativity without losing speed. And we go deep on AI, what everybody's getting wrong and why AI doesn't have a gut and what that means for the future of creativity. If you care about leadership, creativity, and where this industry is heading, this is one you don't want to miss. Let's go. Welcome, Andrea, to State of the Biz. So happy to have you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me. Very happy.
No, it's my pleasure. We're going to have a great conversation. And like I said in the pre-show, I've admired your work that you've done not only at Gut, but prior to that. So it's a real pleasure of mine to be able to speak to you and talk to you about the business, about your career, about the work you've been doing, and kind of your outlook on the future. And I think it's also exciting that you're the 2026 executive jury president for the New York Festivals. So it's very timely that we're talking. And just for anybody who's listening, April 23rd is the deadline for submissions.
Yes.
It's 2026. So make sure you get those in.
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm very honored actually to be the president of the jury there. It was a little bit of a surprise when Scott called me.
Was it?
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a CCO or anything. He's like, it doesn't matter. You're known, by creativity and whatever. It's like, okay, great. I love it. We'll do that.
No, you'll be able to. I was looking at the roster of the jury, and I have some friends on that roster. So you'll have your hands full wrangling them. But I think you have the experience with Can and all the other juries that you've led. So I think it's going to be amazing. I wish I was on it. Frankly, I have to give Scott a little bit of heat about that.
You should. You
I
should.
will.
You should.
So why don't we just get to know you a little bit first before we get into the heat of it.
All right.
Global CEO of Got, which is an amazing agency, independent, owned by Globant, just doing incredible work. I get the opportunity to watch the work both as a student of the industry, but also as a competitor, which I always think is a great angle to look at things from. So that's definitely an admired competitor, which is always fun to go up against the best. But
Thank you.
you grew up in Venezuela, built your career in New York. We were just talking about your love for New York, and have run agencies in Mexico, and then my second hometown, Chicago, and now to lead a global network from Miami, which is kind of like a throwback to the Crispin days. When
Yeah.
people ask where you're from, what do you say?
From Venezuela.
From Venezuela.
Yeah. I
I
always say
love that.
from Venezuela. Because I am, right? So I spent 24 years there. I came to the US when I was 24. So, and, but I'm still from Venezuela. Completely.
And how would you, because I'm from Boston, so I try to bring a Boston lens to everything. What is the Venezuelan lens, for advertising, and marketing, and how you approach the industry and leadership? How does that heritage, how do you bring that to work and to your leadership style?
Listen, I think a lot of people ask me if being Venezuelan has something to do with making it to where I
Hmm.
am today, and I think he has a lot to do with it. I don't think if I weren't Venezuelan, I don't know if I would have survived a lot of the stuff, and I wouldn't have. Um, I might have gotten here, but in a different way.
Hmm.
I think that what I bring from Venezuela and what stays with me always is like, first of all, is humor. No matter what happens, you laugh. You know, I think that's why that country has survived through everything that it's gone through, is because we, at the end, you just laugh.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter what happens, you just laugh. And it can be the tragedy of the tragedies, and you just have to laugh at the end of the day.
I
So
love that.
I bring that with me a lot. And grit, you know, it's, you see a country that has been, it's a very interesting story of the Venezuelan story, right? It's like you have this country excels at a lot of stuff. A lot of people would go and always come back. I was one of the rare ones. I started doing global work when I started, so it was like difficult to do that from Venezuela. So that's why I stayed.
Hmm.
The political landscape when I left was very different to what it is today. But, you know, it doesn't matter how many times they put you down, you just get back up. And that's great. And I think that's a very Venezuelan thing. It's like, you know, I'll try again. And it's almost impossible to bring me down.
Well, it certainly is a great skill to have in our industry
Yes, it's a
because
hard
it's full of
industry.
ups and downs, rejection, success. You could have the biggest win in a day in the morning, and you could have a big rejection in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And try not to get too high, try not to get too low.
You know, and it's what we were talking before, Paul. It's like it's about positivity too, right? It's like
Mhm.
this industry is hard, and it's like if you look at all the bad things that happen every day, and mergers and
Mhm.
layoffs and clients, you know, and losing clients or winning clients or and losing pitches and losing people that you really really like, um, you just have to be positive about
Mhm.
there's a reason for everything happening and it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay, you
And
know?
I think a level of gratitude as well.
Yeah.
We get to do, what we're doing isn't saving the world, but it's expressing. For some reason, we both got into this industry to express creativity and build businesses. And when I walk into Coke every day, I get to see the big. It reminds me of just like the humility of I get to do this every day. 35 years later, I still get to do this and have the gratitude to be able to do that, no matter how hard the day is.
Yeah, completely. I'm exactly the same way. It's like you have, I would say at this, you know, when you get to this level in your career, it's like almost 80% of what happens is horrible.
Why would anybody want to do it?
It's like,
It's
you know,
like
it's like almost 80% of the stuff is complaints and things that are not going great and then there's that 20% which is usually um, ideas and people and creativity that keeps you going and it's like oh, wow, just for that win I could go through all of these things, you know, and I think um, and yes, so I'm grateful for that because a lot of people have 100% of their day that's horrible.
well, I have a saying that I've said for a long time. I think it came to me in a moment of clarity is that you have to be a masochist and a speed freak to do what we do,
Yeah,
especially what we do. And, that 20% is the speed freak part. It's what keeps us coming back, because that emotion it's really unmatched when you do have a win, especially,
yeah,
especially when you win a pitch, right? When you win a big pitch, I think there's no better feeling than that.
I agree. I love winning pitch. I also love when we sell an idea that I really like.
Same. Yeah, same. That you fought for, and maybe the
Yeah.
client wasn't seeing it from the start, and you convinced them that it was the way to go.
Even if it takes years to sell it.
Yeah, and it can, depending on the client,
Yeah,
right?
it can. And then suddenly you sell it and you're like, wow. And you see it out there in the world, you're like, wow. You
I
know,
know.
best feeling in the world.
I love that you still have those eyes because I try to have them as well. I think some people get jaded, but I love to meet people that have that same kind of almost childlike outlook on it, right? When you see your ad on TV, when you're sitting with your friends or your family or whoever it might be, and you're like, we did that, and of course they always have something to say about it, right?
Yeah,
Like they always,
completely.
I'm not sure I like that song or, okay.
Completely. Completely. Like that. And it's like, what did you do on it? It's like, I
Right.
don't know. I was part of it. How?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
well, it's
Did
just
you
me.
write the line? No, I was, the team did, but I helped them be successful, I guess. So you talked about humor a little bit, which I think is, just doing my research on you, and you like to hire people that make you laugh. I found that to be really interesting. Now I think I understand the root cause of that, but I have never really looked at it that way. I mean, I've always looked at it from the person has to be able to do the job, but do I want to spend 18 hours in the basement of a hotel pitch room, with Chinese food with this person at 3 in the morning? Is more the lens that I've usually put it through. But
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that criteria.
I think it's exactly that, right? It's like you spend so much time with the people that you work with that, and I believe laughter is a cure to everything, to
Mhm.
negativity, to everything. It's like, to a hard day, to it's just and I love to laugh. So people who make me laugh just make my day. So if I'm going to work with people that are, gloomy and sad and everything is negative and it's like that, I can't.
Me too.
They can be geniuses, huh? That's great.
Yeah.
I won't, we won't get along that well.
Right.
Because for me, it would be like, all right, I'm getting nothing out of this relationship. Really, nothing.
Right.
It's like, um, yeah, super smart, but not that funny. And again, it doesn't have to be like funny, joke funny. It's just people who have a levity and a lightheartedness that you can laugh in the real tough moments and and make it all okay. So yes, if I'm interviewing somebody, I'm always looking for those moments of, that was funny, or surprising, or a smile, or that make. At the end of the day, Paul, it's all about somebody that makes you feel something,
Right.
right?
Right.
There's a lot of really smart people in the world, a lot of really smart people in the world, and if I just need people who make me feel something. And as you said, if I'm gonna get stuck in an elevator, if I'm gonna get stuck for a month doing this pitch for 12 hours a day, I have to
Hmm.
laugh. And those are the best pitches. At the end of the day, I've won some of them, lost some of them, and you still laugh, you know?
Some of my best memories, of course. So I'm sure same for you. Just who you were with. You know what was happening. You know what you were eating from what restaurant you were eating out of the takeout.
Like, I,
Uh,
I
gallows
don't,
humor obviously is always great too. People that have nice gallows humor is
yeah.
always funny.
It is funny. I remember we did a pitch when I was in Chicago. We did a pitch. We were in Virginia, and it was one of those. You're in a hotel that is
Hmm.
horrible, and in a room that's horrible, and it's like 20 people, and nobody can make a decision. You're like 2 nights into this, um, and it was just and you're there, and the work was okay, and it was a long shot. And then it was 3 a.m. and I went back to my room and I got stuck in the elevator.
Oh
And for
no,
me, and I spent there 2 hours.
no.
Firefighters came back. At that time, the head of business who was working on the pitch, was outside the elevator, Sandra Alfaro, who actually works here now, and then another person from the new business team was there, and I was just laughing inside. I was just waiting for those firefighters when I opened the door. And it's like what I remember about that pitch is this,
Yeah.
I laughed so much. Everybody was so worried. I was stuck for like 2 hours in. It was December, so it was Christmas carols in the elevator.
Oh no.
Plus for like 2 hours, and it was like already 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It goes, but I remember I laughed so much after that because it's like that's what we remember. We don't remember, you know,
No.
because
No.
we just laughed about it the whole time. Even in the pitch, we laughed about it. It was just funny.
It actually it does create a good opener for the pitch.
It
That's
does.
for sure. Yeah.
It does. Creates a good opener.
And I think if as because as a CEO, it sounds like you're the same way. I mean, obviously the culture of the business is our job, right? It's our job to figure out a way to shape the culture in a way without a heavy hand. And I think what's interesting is when you hire people that have humor, or people that have can lighten up a room, and you do that exponentially through the company, that can influence the culture in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it's and some people won't be, funny to everyone, but if they're funny to me, that's good.
Yeah. I'll have to learn your sense of humor. Uh, yeah,
I think we would get along, Paul. I think we
I
would.
think so too. My Boston sense of humor hasn't really translated to the South, so it's been.
I like Boston sense of humor. You know, I do.
I'm
It's
working on that.
it's good.
So, let's talk a little bit about gut. And in 22, you left EDB. You had great growth. there under your leadership. You became the first ever global CEO of Gut, which I didn't know. I was doing my research and saw that you were the first global CEO of, what's a great independent. We'll talk about independence a little bit in a second, but so talk a little bit about that move, right? So you went from DDB and inside of a holding company to be the first global CEO of an independent. Was it a risky move at the time, or was it one that you felt like that you felt pretty confident about?
It was an uncomfortable move, you know. It's like I came from Saatchi where I spent 25 years, so I knew the system, I knew the people, I knew the
Mhm.
leadership, I knew everyone. It was like very easy for me to move around and very easy for me to jump around, even globally, right? I knew people everywhere, so I could get resources and people
Mhm.
and have friends everywhere to do, whatever we needed to do. And after spending there 25 years, it's like, and I was CEO of Saatchi New York for maybe 5 years, and you start to question like, okay, could I do this somewhere else where I don't know anybody? So, so the DDB opportunity came up, and I was like, wow, what a great brand, DDB.
Mhm.
I hate that it's not there anymore.
Right.
But what an incredible brand, and all its values and everything that it stands for. Even the logo, I love the logo. It's
Me
like
too.
love the logo and love
Mhm.
the stories behind it, and you walked through the agency and you felt it, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can do this here. It's a different holding company. I don't know the people in the holding company, and it was great. It was really, really great, and I had a lot of fun. I was able to hire the whole leadership team. We grew a lot. We won in Cannes. We won in every major award that we had that year, which Chicago hadn't done in maybe 3, 4, 5 years. So it was fun for me. And Gaston called me when I started at DDB, and I was like, it's like I
I
just
just
started it.
started. Yeah.
Like, okay, and it was a different kind of role at that time, and I was like, I'm just trying this and see if I can do this, and it's not New York, it's Chicago, it's more, I would say, American clients, different tone,
Mid
different
America. Yeah.
rhythm, and I was really learning from that, and I think that's important actually to do more than just New York. I had lived in Mexico, I had lived in Puerto Rico 1 year, so I've learned,
Mm.
different things, and I had worked with Asia a lot. So I said, all right, let me try this. And so I said no to them, which they still talk about. And then a while later, they came back and they said, well, how about being the global CEO of God? All right, that's a first, and I love living a life of firsts. That's
Yeah.
something that I really enjoy. It's like, all right, that's a first, independent first, and yes, it is a risk because um, you don't have the same systems and the same things from your insurance to your
Mhm.
HR team to your. It's like you don't have any of it because you're
Mhm.
building it as you go, right? Um, so it was a risk. It was risky. It was an agency that had been in the market 4 years, going on 5, because it's going to be 8 now. So
Oh
I've been
wow.
years and a half. It's going to be 8.
Congrats. Yeah.
So um, independent. These two creatives leading it, two
Yep.
founders. How's that going to be? Two guys. I
Yep.
knew Don from 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
I worked with him 20 years ago, and Selma had never worked with. And but what I really loved about it is that I've always loved creativity, always, and we've done it in a very different way, which is you get really good creative teams and you bring them to a certain brief,
Mhm.
the agency versus um, the whole agency and creativity being a mindset of the whole agency.
Mhm.
Really different
Yeah,
than
it
when
is.
you're in a holding company kind of environment, because
Mhm.
sometimes you don't get to choose what you work on, and sometimes you don't, and you
Or
need
it's CFO led, or it's finance led.
it's finance led.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a profit thing
Mhm.
where an independent company that has such strong values on creativity and bravery, like God, was more about we just want to make stuff.
Mhm.
So I was like, all right, I want to understand this a little bit more. And, the worst that can happen is I don't like it. And I already proven in this country and in globally that I can actually do a good
Yep.
job. So maybe I can
Yeah.
get, a job somewhere else if this doesn't work
Yeah. Yeah.
out, right?
I think it's worked out for you. I think it's worked. Talk about, I think at this point we can say that. So talk about, I mean, I've stepped into, independents are, my heart is more with independence. Maybe I shouldn't say this on a podcast, but my heart's always been with independence. I started my career in independence and have felt what you feel, moving back and forth between them. And I've been in founder-led businesses, and sometimes that goes well, and sometimes that doesn't go well. And you have two great founders in Gaston and Anselmo. Talk a little bit about that.
So, listen, the independence part of it is amazing. I like it. I really, really like that. Remember that we sold to Globant, but the heart of it is still independent. And Globant, being a tech company, is more about how can we help boost creativity versus I'm just
Right.
going to mess with your system and how you do it. It's like there's none of that. It's still an Anselmo and Gaston led company completely, 100%, right? So that's important there. And then the other thing is, here's what I'll say about Gaston and Anselmo. Hopefully they don't listen to this because then they'll be like, oh, with their egos, with their egos and their thing. I think that one of the things that they said to me when I came in, it was incredible because they wrote, Anselmo writes papers, and he wrote an incredible paper about the company. It was like 20 pages long of every company, every one of the offices, every one of the partners, the issues here, the good things here, what they wanted.
Wow.
And I remember one of the things I remember the most about that paper was the end. It said, who do you report to, and who reports to you? And they said, I think it's literally, I haven't read it in a while, but it's, we like to keep things simple. Everyone, including us, report to you. I was like, all right, now you take that with a grain of salt, because you know that at the end of the day, you don't believe it completely, but that's how they act. And I really appreciate that, because it has to be very hard being founder led to have to now share with another person all the decisions that you're making. Actually make that person part of those decisions. And I have to say that I am part of 100% of the decisions that affect the company in a way. And if I'm not, it's because it happens because something has to be done really fast, and it's a timing thing. It's like, okay, I'm on a plane, or I'm on, but it doesn't happen. It's like I feel that I'm part of their, I almost feel like a founder of the company. That's weird because I was not here at the beginning, but it's like, I feel that, and that's how I like to feel when I work anywhere. It's like, I feel that company's mine too, and they've made me feel that way. And I really appreciate that, because it has to be really hard for founders, because it's like, all right, we need another opinion now,
And you're there in the formative
and
years.
she's
I
so
mean,
opinionated.
yeah, she's opinionated. Yeah, well, it sounds like Gaston probably knew that about you if you went
He
far
did.
back with
He
him.
did. I didn't know Anselmo actually. I met him during the interview process.
Process.
I had seen him. I knew who he was, but again, I don't want him to listen to this because he's going to be like all ego. Yeah.
I mean, I saw there was a quote somewhere from somebody on the leadership team that described the culture as a borderline cult, which I really appreciate and think is probably a strength. How would you describe that? I mean, how do how many people are at Gut now?
There are 2,000 people at GUT.
2,000 people.
Yes, and I can explain that a little bit, right? So we've added new capabilities that have just come into GUT, and so it's a bigger network. It became, 750 people is GUT advertising, and then you have the rest of the people are, we have media in Latin America, we have GUT Health in Copenhagen, we have a GUT Experience in New York and Copenhagen, and then social in Brazil and Mexico. So it's kind of like all these companies coming together, and it's like, It's a really interesting time for God right now. But yes, it is a little bit like that. And the first time I felt it, Paul, when I came in, they did what they call Bodhi. It's beginning of
Okay.
the year party, okay? And the beginning of the year party was in Buenos Aires. So these guys took 450 people at that time or something like that to Buenos Aires to a hotel. We had the whole hotel. And the first question I asked when I came in is like, who's going to pay for this? And they were like, don't worry about that. We'll pay for it. It's
Well,
like,
it's an independent. We can do what we want.
I need to get to this number. So I think
Yeah.
this is a pretty big cost here. It's like, no, no, don't worry, we'll pay for it. It's like, wow. And you spend 4 days, 5 days in Buenos Aires. You take everyone, huh? People who have never. There's people who had to get passports from every one of the countries, right? And you get to spend 4 days with everyone, meeting everyone and yes, you work because you go through like, okay, what is each office doing? Every office does a presentation. Founders make a, kind of a presentation, a talk. We bring in an inspiring person to come and talk to everyone. But it's also 4 days of partying, and 4 days of connecting with everyone and meeting everyone in the network. And as a global CEO, it was great because I got to meet everyone at the same time.
Once. Yeah.
And they got to meet me at the same time. So I was like, wow, I've never been in a company like this. And you can also feel it in Cannes. See, in Cannes, when you
Yep.
go with a holding company, you have your team, right? And it's like, all right, it's like 5 or 6 people, and then you move around, and then the holding company says, okay, we have our house here, and then you come, and you can go or not, nobody will notice.
Right. Right.
You really notice. You
Yeah.
really notice. Here you have, 40, 50 people that are gutsies, and you see them, and you feel them, and you hear them, and everybody's together, and the clients come to the gut house, and we do presentations, and we work a lot, actually, but,
Yeah.
every night at the Palais when we win, it's like you see the whole agency together and everybody's rooting for each other. It's like, it's amazing. It's
Sounds
amazing.
amazing. It sounds amazing. Yeah.
It is. It's
It's a little harder, holding, obviously, as you know, holding companies aren't like that. We're not going to send 450 people to Buenos Aires for a party. But when you're independent, if you look at it as a culture investment or a mandatory, which it sounds like they did,
yeah,
it definitely pays dividends.
it does. It does. You have a company where the retention rate is 90 to 95% retention
Wow.
rate,
Wow.
which
That's
is
impressive.
absurd.
That's impressive.
It is. Depends. Some offices more than other, but that's kind of like the average. And people just like to stay. Again, that's a little bit of, it's an 8-year-old company, and a lot of people that started at the beginning are still here, and but we've brought in new people, and the people who get adapt to the culture stay because it's a pretty good place to work at. You work really hard though. Very different.
Yeah.
Very different because it's an obsession for making and an obsession for creating new things that have never done before, and that takes. It's like, sometimes I say that God is an athlete. It's like when you want to be the best, you have to
It'll work.
work hard,
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
And
No, you work on Christmas, you work on New Year's Day, you work on Easter, you work on just like a top athlete would do. You're going to
yes,
train.
yes, and listen, and some people don't like to do that, and
Nope.
I understand that. So
Yeah.
so, but if you want to work here and you want to be part of the dream that and the mission and the vision that Gaston and Selmo have, that's the way,
Yep.
because you have too much competition out there.
To competition for talent. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to have a 90% retention rate is incredible. I want to talk about Globin a little bit because you brought them up. Super interesting. But before we do that, I want to just talk about something that's always been important to me, which I always felt that our industry, has not had enough female CEOs at the top of the house. And when I was at Havas, I had a lot of female CEOs in my portfolio. And I think that really influences the business. And I think there's been more, right? We have Cindy Rose at WPP now, and Beth Enns at Dentsu, and Donna Murphy at Havas. What advice, because there's so many talented women coming up in our business, what advice would you give them if they're listening to this about, either aspiring to be a CEO or the path or what it takes to do that?
Listen, I think that one amazing shift that I love is that Cindy is the CEO of WPP. You didn't have one until her. I was a woman of a holding company.
That's right.
She's the first one.
That's right.
And I give a lot of credit for that, and hopefully, you know, hopefully she can do what she wants to do and get people to follow her and to do what she wants to do, because I think I'm looking at it very closely because I want to understand what's going to be different. I think women CEOs are necessary. They're just necessary.
I agree.
Same as women CCOs, same as women CSOs. It's like, it's necessary because you bring a very different point of view, and because you work in a very different way. And if you can have the great combination of women and men, and it just works really, really well. I was very lucky because since I started at Saatchi back when I was 24, the CEO of New York was a woman. Jennifer Lang was her name. She's British. And then it was Mary McLevo, who was amazing, super mentor of mine, and I adore her. And, the person that gave me like my first break was also a woman who was leading a global business on P&G. So I've had these role models always, and then I've had a lot of male bosses too. They've been great, most of them. Great. I think the mix is great. When you have a mix, it's great.
I agree.
And I'm really looking forward to see what happens with WPP with a woman, because it's the first one.
Well, I can tell you, I have a front row seat to it. I would say over the last 3 or 4 months, she's brought a more human approach, a more approachable and accessible style to communicating with the teams globally. And then her first town hall, it was just, you could feel it, right? You could just feel her. I mean, she's she's tough and she has a big job, ahead of her, but she does it with humanity, which I think is, even just as a leader myself, is always exciting to watch somebody at her level be able to operate that way, knowing that there's not going to be always good news that she's going to have to deliver, to the team and into the street. So I really appreciated that about her style over the last few months.
I listen, I'm watching closely because I've said for the last, whenever I started doing interviews, it's like nothing's going to change until you put a woman in top of on a holding company CEO level.
Holding company level, yeah.
Nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So let's see. I'm rooting for her big time.
Thank you. So am I. So let's talk about Globant a little bit. Very, very interesting company. And I really appreciate companies that aren't the traditional suitors, in our business, that are buying companies that we have in our industry. And the relationship has been described as kind of brave creativity meets daring tech, which I think is interesting. And not a lot about how they're empowering you all. Just a little bit about what you can speak on anyway. What does that partnership look like? And how is AI currently sort of fitting into Gut's creative process, knowing that you have Globant as your owner?
So listen, I'll talk a little bit about the relationship first. The relationship is fantastic. It's just, again, first of all, you have 2 Latin-led companies, very, very hungry and ambitious Latin-led companies, right? So if you look at Globant, it's a company that, is everywhere in the world, has 30,000 employees. It's pretty big, and it's done amazing things, and it has incredible clients. And then you have Gut, which is this, I think it's the only network that exists that way in the advertising world, right? Where it's 2 Latin guys that have, they have 13 offices around the world, and it keeps growing. And it's like, we've grown so much in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, if you look at it, it's just absurd, the amount of growth. And I think a lot of where you see it happening, the combination between Globant and Gut, is that there's a lot of clients that they brought in that need some creativity, but they're
Hmm.
already using the tech part of it, then the other way around. So we have some of those examples that are working really, really well. I think, remember that one of the things that happens is like, you start getting to know each other and you spend a year getting to know each other. It's like, okay, you do this, I do this. And it takes a little bit of time. And I think on their side and our side, everybody has been super open to understanding what everybody
Hmm.
does. When you're in a holding company, here's how it goes. It's like, all right, you're leading this business. You have to go and sell this and this and this and this. All right. I don't even understand what they do. So because it is what it is. It's like, all
Yeah.
right, okay, I'll try to, so you go to your client who's a marketing client maybe, and you're not even talking to the right person. And you're there like, hey, I have this for you. How much does it cost? Well, it costs 25 million.
Yeah.
What? You, you explain it to me. It's like, not really, but I can bring those guys and they can
Yeah.
explain to you. That's how it was,
Yeah. That's crazy.
and 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 that's just not the right way. I think that one of the great things about this partnership is that we spent a lot of time meeting each other as people
Hmm.
and getting the connectors between the
Hmm.
two companies that understand a little bit of both, being very respectful of what we do and what they do, and then being very open and to understanding what we can bring to them and what they can bring to us. And it's been great. And again, we haven't hit it every time, but we've
Right.
had some hits, and
Right.
that's great. And it gets better and better and better every year. But I think um, we've been in a place where it has been, uh, you know, it's big things that you want to do, but you do them with timing and the right
Hmm.
timing and get everybody used to it. Because
Hmm.
immediately when the news was out to the whole company, it's like, all right, we're going to lose our independence.
Hmm.
And so nothing happened. We remained operating the same thing. And then the second thing, when we said we tried, Globe and Gut, and this is what we're going to do.
Oh,
Oh my God, we destroyed creativity. Nothing happened.
nothing happened.
And then now that we've taken, incredible people and incredible talent and incredible capabilities that are going to make us really much better as a creative company, um, into the gut network, is going to be even better. And I think people right now are like, all right, we've gone through this journey. It's a journey you have to take people in, because people got scared at the beginning. It's like, what do you mean you're going to sell? You had that famous tweet from Anselmo, which was independent forever. So it's like, what happened here? And I think it's been led pretty well by Anselmo and Gaston and everyone involved on that front.
I thought it was a super interesting, and I'm kind of a student of mergers and acquisitions. I ran it at Havas, and so I always keep a close eye on what's happening in the industry. And the traditional acquisitions are always boring to me, but this one was super interesting because obviously independents, maybe not at the scale of Gut, but independents are a little bit in a tough spot right now because they don't have the resources that the bigger holding companies have, either around data acquisition, and what's happening with media into data, into creative, or the AI engines and the AI workspaces that are being built, like our WPP Open and others, which hundreds of millions of dollars are being invested in. And so how are the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 person shops able to compete over the next 5 years, other than the idea? And it's always been something I've been trying to figure out is how they're going to compete. So to have a creative agency like Gut partner with Globant and have Globant be able to bring some of those capabilities into Gut always felt really interesting to me.
It is. Listen, it's amazing. I will say something though, Paul. It's like I think right now a lot of clients I see out there and I speak to at a global level, a lot of them are shying away from the big kind of thing, and they have so many tools internally that do a lot of,
Hmm.
the AI things
Hmm.
that they want them to do, that they're now getting more like, all right, what's happening here? I want to go back to the raw kind of ideas that are going to be different, that
Hmm.
only humans can come up with.
Right.
So it's like, how do you keep that? again, it's my experience with conversations that I've had with clients all over the world, that they're into that, and they're like being curious about, okay, I'm being charged about, all these things here. Where here I can just invest this, build this thing in house, and so that's, I think, the thing that some people, are not talking about, that is actually pretty relevant out there. We've had a lot of clients reach out to us that have the AORs and
Sure.
and have their relationship. It's like, yeah, they're not going to be as fast as you in this. Can you crack this in 2 weeks?
Right.
Crack it in 2 weeks.
Right. Right.
Okay, in 2 weeks.
8 weeks. You got it. No
Yeah,
problem.
you got it. It's like
No
from
problem.
beginning to end, you crack it, and that is because we still move very, very fast. I think
How do you do that? As you're 2,000 people now, right? So it's maintaining a culture is hard, but how do you maintain that speed when you start to grow?
because one thing that has not changed, and again, we can talk about this more if you want, but we do have one P&L. We do have one P&L, and some offices are gonna perform better than other, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you move fast.
That's okay with Anselmo and Gaston. That's okay with me, and that's
Yeah.
that's okay. And that's okay with Globant. At the end of the day, they're going to look at the overall number.
Right.
At the end of the day, I might make a decision that says I might not make the number in this office, but I'm going to use these resources to actually do this in this market, which is going to be spectacular. So don't worry about your numbers. You're still going to get your bonus, but you're going to help me here on this. And that happens a lot at GUT. It's just, guys, there's this brief. We're not cracking it. I'm going to bring, no, but I have to do this pitch. Forget that pitch. Let it go. Here, let's do this because it's actually going to be more for the company at the end of the day. So that's how we move.
I like that.
It's very fast, and there's no excuse for not moving fast today. The only excuse is bureaucracy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. It's one P&L is a differentiator, especially at that size.
It is. And the decisions being made of, I need to hire this person. Like, the decision maker is me. So all I need to go is, or opening an office, right? So it's
Right.
like, Gaston and Selma, we have this situation. We have this client. It's here. Either we open an office or we don't service them anymore because it's just a pain to do it from somewhere else. Or, okay, let's open it. That's more or less what it takes, by the way.
That's cool. I miss those days.
And it's amazing, actually. It's very liberating. And sometimes you'll make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing, that when you're in an environment like this one is, all right, you make a mistake, a boss of mine used to say, you fail fast, you learn fast, and you fix fast, and then you move on.
Yeah, I like that. That's good advice. You don't have time to sit around and wallow in it. That's for sure.
It didn't work. So if it didn't work,
No.
it didn't work.
Move on. Don't wallow in it.
Or how do you change it for it to work,
What do you think is going to happen? So, listen, we can't stop the train of AI. There's operational AI. There's generative AI. What happens to our jobs in 5 to 7 years? What happens to the role of the CEO? What do you feel like our role will evolve or change as technology takes hold?
You know what, Paul? I can give you an answer, which is like what a lot of people, I think, do. I have no clue. I have no clue what's going to happen.
I like that answer.
And the reason I think that's important, at least for me, and that's how I work, is like I have to look at the present because I don't know what's going to happen in 2 days. I really don't. So what I need is to make sure that our teams have the tools that they need to do what they do every day brilliantly. I think we're at a point right now where where AI still does not have a gut. It doesn't have it. I don't know if it will.
I like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have a gut.
No.
And for us, there's a lot about that, right? It's like you finish every presentation we do at GUT with a page that says, how are you feeling? Every presentation, everyone, how are you feeling? That's how you end with every client, with everything. And it's like, and I still feel that that's really important. So I focus on the today, because imagine who would have predicted, I don't know, COVID or what's happening in the world right now. I have no idea. I don't know if I
Right.
have no idea.
Right.
It helps me, Andrea Diquez, and I'm talking about me, Andrea, not God, not Global, not Abe. It's like I like to focus on where I am today, what I can do tomorrow, where I
Hmm.
want to go in a year,
Hmm.
what I need to get there, and the company, right? And try to get the tools that I need to make that happen, and try to get the people that I need to actually make that happen.
Smart advice.
I
That's good advice.
I prefer to. It's really scary if you start to think of like, what's going to happen with me in 8 years? I don't fucking know. I have no idea.
I couldn't have predicted 8 years ago today. I mean,
Right?
it would have been an act of futility to try to do that. So I think it's very smart to face what's in front of us, at least have a general path of where we want to go, and then react along the way. As long as because we probably can't predict. I mean, technology is changing so quickly,
Yeah.
and our industry is being affected so quickly. I mean, I do think I agree with you. I love the line AI doesn't have a gut. Until it has consciousness, I mean, the human condition will continue to be the differentiator.
I hope we still I hope we still have incredible copywriters. It's like,
Hmm.
well, this can write its own. No, it can't. No, it can't. It
Hmm.
cannot.
It
We
can't.
still need the art of copywriting, which we've lost a
Yep.
lot in the last 10 years, whatever. It's like, what? You need copywriting. You need people who come up with like
Yep.
the word with the other word with the other word with the other word that makes it like, at the end, or the visual with the other visual with the other visual. Can it accelerate it? Yeah. Can it make you feel?
Well, I think it's something to be said to the fact that when we talk about AI now in our industry, it's really an operational discussion. It's really an efficiency discussion. It's not a
Yeah.
creative discussion, really. Not
Yeah.
yet.
I worry what to do with the junior positions. I
Hmm.
worry about that a lot. That keeps me awake at night. It's like because
Hmm.
I believe in that. I believe in training, and I see so many kids coming out of college right now. They can't land an internship. They don't know what to do. I worry about that a lot for our industry. When I look at the tools and the tools that we are using at GOT and the things that are coming, and I'm like, what are we gonna do with these kids? Because they're there. So it's like, okay, does everybody have to become, I don't know, a plumber? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. I spoke
no.
at Georgia State a few weeks ago to the marketing seniors, and that this was the topic of the discussion. And before I went in, I said, okay, what am I going to tell these kids? That they're screwed, or do I have to give them some level of confidence? And the way my angle was, there's some things that AI will never be able to do, and that's, first of all, it's storytelling, right? Storytelling and selling, it will never be able to do. But the human aspect of our business, it will never be able to. Relationship building, connecting, listening, like all of the things that the softer skills of our industry will never go away. And if you learn how to use AI to augment and learn from it, but not use it in a way that's going to, yes, it's going to take some jobs. There's no doubt about it. The more automated manual task roles of any industry are probably the first to go, but the ones that will be the last to go or never go will be the ones that have the more human touch to them.
Yeah, and I think storytelling is key. It's like, I mean, you've been in millions of pitches, I've been in millions of pitches, and there's a moment in that pitch where you sit down and you come in, and you're like, this makes no sense.
Wait, what
Yeah.
did you just say? Where
Like,
did that come from?
great ideas, great strategy, great comms
Yeah,
planning, media comes in, and then technology comes in, and then the CRM part of it is great. It makes no sense. I don't get it. I
right.
don't get it. Like I do a lot of that job, by the way. I don't
Yeah,
know
me
why.
too.
I
Yeah.
guess I'm a good filter because if I'm very basic sometimes in terms of my storytelling. So it's like basic might not be the right word, but I think it is. It's like if I don't get it, I don't get it. It's like, all right, I don't get it. And I'm a good filter. So I always tell them, it's like, if I don't get it, it's really hard if other people are getting it.
Yeah.
Or if I
Sometimes the teams are too close to it.
the other
Sometimes
way,
they've been staring at it on the wall for
and
three
the other
weeks.
way is like, if I get it, this big probability that you can get it because I'm a very, and the word is not basic, but I like stories that are simple,
Simple. Yeah.
and so when you go like this, I get really lost.
Yeah.
And so yes, I agree with you. I think the art of storytelling is still very much alive and human.
Well, to that point, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the New York festivals. I mean, you're chairing the jury. We talked about it. When you walk into that room for the first time, what are you looking for in the first hour in the work?
It's interesting, because I've never led a jury that is mostly creatives.
Hmm.
I've led a jury that has creatives, but
Hmm.
most of the team is strategists or clients or technology people. Um, I think, but I think the same principle applies, which is, you know, I I think first of all everybody has to have a voice in the jury, and everybody has to be able to, you have to create an environment there where everybody can talk,
Hmm.
because it's very, I mean, you've seen the jury, it's very diverse from
Hmm.
backgrounds, from countries,
Hmm.
from gender. I think we have more women than men. I think that was
Oh,
by
is there?
design.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was by design when we talked with Scott, but I wanted something like that more. But I think that you have really, really strong creative people in general, regardless of their background from strategy or business or on the marketing side or creative side. Um, I still think that we need to look for stuff that makes us jealous and makes us feel and 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 what's the message you're going to send out there when you leave that jury room. You can't just be like, all right, well, this is just okay, they just had really good results, or this was really, really creative, but nobody saw this, and I don't know, didn't sell one product.
Well, yeah.
So I think it's a combination of what makes us feel amazing. I remember when we were judging last year in Cannes, um, and in creative effectiveness, and Apple won the Grand Prix. It's like there's just you just sit there and it's undisputable. It's like we don't even know
Right.
what to talk about here. It's like just watch 17 films that are like spectacular one after the other for
Hmm.
13, 15, 20 years. It's just, so you want that level of greatness, I think, and ideas that generate an impact on the brand or on people or on a country, or like that's what I would love for us to do.
And where do you've sat on a lot of juries. I mean, where do entries consistently lose you, right? So sometimes great work falls flat in a jury room. Why, in your estimation, does that happen? Is it a bad casework? Is it bad results, or is it the storytelling component of the narrative of how the work came to be?
Listen, I think it's all of that,
Hmm.
right? You have to have a good case study. I think you have, it's incredible. Sometimes work falls because they're entered in the wrong category,
Hmm.
and it's like, well, that could be great for, I don't know, direct, but it's in social, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay. And then the festival, depending on the rules, will be like, well, no, it has to stay there. Like, all right, well, it's not that good here.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so I think there's a little bit of that. I think there's, you have people in the jury room that have done millions of case studies and have watched millions of case studies. And you're going to watch a lot of case studies too. So you have to make them pay attention to the case study, and it's just not because it's there you're going to pay attention to it. It's like sometimes you're like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm disconnected. I'm just not, and I'm very respectful of all the entries.
Right.
Me personally, it's like I watch everything, I read
You
everything
know
they
what
say.
goes into it.
I know what goes into it, but sometimes they just don't nail the storytelling. Again, going back to storytelling,
Hmm.
the storytelling is really key. It's like, okay, here's the problem, here's what we did, here's what was great about it, and at the end of the day, you're like, shit, I wish I would have done that,
Yeah.
and that's what I think wins. I think when it loses is when it misses some of those things, or it's made up stuff. There's a lot of made up stuff out there.
Yeah, there is. I mean,
Well,
we saw it in Cannes this year.
yeah.
Hopefully that won't happen again.
No, hopefully it's not. And it's like, well, or things that don't solve any issues. It's like you make up the issue, so they're
Right.
real stuff and it really happened.
Right.
But you're like, I think you made up that issue. That's not.
Right. Right. It was an idea looking for a problem.
It's like, yeah, it's like nobody wanted brown tables just
Right.
because, I don't know, I'm making a bad example, but you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Nobody wanted a round telephone. Why do you have a round telephone? I have
Yeah.
a cell phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So final thought. Do you on award shows? I mean, do you think award shows like the New York festivals and others are evolving, fast enough to keep pace with how creativity itself is evolving and changing, whether that's new formats or AI generated work? Um, do you think there's a change or a reckoning coming for how we're going to be judging on juries?
Um, I I think some are. I think some are. I think some, you know, um, I think some are not. I'm not going to go into names right now,
Hmm.
but I think a lot of them are, and trying to keep up and trying to bring in the right mix of people in the jury. I think that, you know, there's another thing, Paul, that I wanted to say is like sometimes cases fall because you miss the target completely. And you have people in that room that are judging it based on what they are and who they are and
Hmm.
and what they feel, and it can be like completely a complete turn off to half of the jury and amazing to the other half. At some
Hmm.
point either moves forward or it dies. I think that where festivals are doing it right now is I think you have the right mix of backgrounds and backgrounds and and people and diverse people. I
Hmm.
think sometimes what happens is that you bring in people just for the diversity of the jury, and that doesn't work because you
Hmm.
need to bring people that are knowledgeable about the industry. You can't judge if you've never done something good. You can't. I
That's
believe
smart.
that. I believe
That's
that.
smart.
You
Yeah.
know, if you've never been part of something really good or really hard to make or really, you can't judge it. Or if you don't know enough, you have in juries a lot of, well, I think I've seen that somewhere. No, no, no. No. Where did you see it? Which brand? Let's look at it, and
Hmm.
you can't just come up with those statements like that. You
No.
have to stop those things. So I think that sometimes you need to curate the jury of people that are not only in the position that they are, it's like
Hmm.
people who have done
The
really
credentials.
good work or really strategic work or entrepreneurial or
Yeah.
anyway. So,
That's really insightful. And I think Scott's done a nice job at that at the festivals
yeah,
to curate those types
yeah,
of folks.
completely.
My last question for you of the day, in your own words, what's the single most interesting thing happening in advertising right now that nobody's talking about?
Um, I think um, there's several, I think one of the things that's happening at a rapid pace is clients building in-house agencies.
Hmm.
And that's dangerous for us for a little bit. I think that sometimes they overestimate what they can do internally. So it's a pendulum as
There's
well.
a pendulum for
It
sure.
goes back and forth. I think that's happening. I think the other thing is what we were talking about is like a lot of people have lost their focus. A lot of marketers and brands have lost their focus of actually entertaining people and making people feel versus just being out there with
Hmm.
content that makes no sense or makes nothing or it's just wallpaper.
Hmm.
And I think we're not talking enough about that. It's like, well, I want my brand to stand out and I want um, my brand to, get to Gen Z consumers. That's the typical
That's the brief.
where there's like a lot of other targets that are pretty good and have a lot of
Sure.
money.
Hmm.
And we're forgetting them sometimes. So I would say the target that's 45 plus, it's a great target to play with.
Hmm.
And brands often forget that. Um, so
Well,
I
we're
think
still cool. I mean, at least I'll speak for myself.
I think I'm super
We're
cool.
still cool.
Like,
So
I'm
it's
sure that I'm sure the word cool is not the one that they're using.
I have two Gen Z daughters, so I'm not sure what that. Maybe I'll ask them
For
what
us,
they
we're
would say.
super cool.
Yeah, they don't call me cool. I'm the least cool person in their life.
You know what? For I don't have kids, so my nieces and nephews, I think I'm pretty cool. That's good
Oh,
because
I
I
like
work in
that. You
advertising, and it's
win.
like, I've been in this, Super Bowl spots, and they're like, "Oh, you
Yeah,
must be cool." And that's about
that's
it.
cool.
I'm cooler than their parents for sure.
The cool
That's it.
aunt. I like that.
That's the thing about being an aunt. You usually are cooler than the
Usually you're
parents.
cooler.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been an amazing hour to have you on the podcast, and I probably could have gone on for another hour.
Me
We
too.
so much to talk about, but I look forward to seeing you in person soon and
Me too.
wish you the best on the executive jury.
Thank you so much, Paul, for inviting me. It was
My
awesome.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.